All right, guys, welcome back to the Laser Boy podcast. A24 guys, the Beef podcast. We are in episode 4, just not all at the same time. I'm your host, the Laser Boy, Joseph Ngo, here with my co-host, Edwin Lee.
Hey, Joseph.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I got heartburn from all those original chicken sandwiches from Burger
You
King.
had
But
4 of them.
other than, other than that, no, I did not have 4. I got heartburn from 1 1/4. So I don't know how Danny does it with 4, but hey, more power to you. Yeah, so we are here to talk about episode 4 of Beef. There's going to be no spoilers beyond episode 4. No news currently for Beef. No pickups, but it looks pretty positive that it will be picked up. We don't know, if they're going to continue with same characters or anthology, but we will see. And so this structure is just going to be, general thoughts first, and then recap. And after the recap, we're going to be giving our Yelp rating and overall thoughts on the episode. All right, so what did you think overall of episode 4, Edwin?
I thought it was a good episode. I thought it moved the story forward. I thought there were some funny moments
Mm-hmm.
in the episode. I like the change of scenery
Mm-hmm.
that we get
Yeah.
later in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I really like more bombastic episodes that kind of throw down the gauntlet almost.
Mhm.
So, and of course, we couldn't get to that without laying the groundwork, and they really did lay the groundwork very well. So credit to that. But I also love how it kind of crescendos into this, uh, you know couple of scenes of high stakes emotions and just a couple chases.
Mhm.
So we get a lot of kind of cool sequences that are just high energy, and I like that a lot. So yeah, let's get right into the recap. But before that, plugging the website at thelaserboy.wordpress.com. Type us in the YouTube search engine, the Laserboy with the Z, for more Beef podcast episodes. So the episode title is Just Not All at the Same Time, and the only quote I found on that is by Betty Friedan, Albright's answer wasn't entirely encouraging. I don't know what that means. It says, I don't think women can have it all, end quote. And she said, quote, but not all at the same time. Our life comes in segments, and we have to understand that we can have it all if we're not trying to do it all at once. Albright meaning Madeleine Albright. I don't know who that is, but
She was former Secretary of State.
oh, okay.
So I'm taking it as you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Sure.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good
You can't have it all.
interpretation. Yeah. And be patient is another, message from that quote. Just yeah, be patient. It'll come to you, right? Episode was directed by Hikari, who directed, I believe, about 4 episodes. It alternates between him and Jake Schreier doing the series. Episode 4 is also written by Alex Russell. So cool. Let's get right into the recap, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Starts with Amy dropping off Paul because he usually Ubers around everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a ride. Obviously, another plot thread that will come up later in this episode.
Yeah, going back to that theme we've discussed about people needing people to listen to them, people to support them. Paul has that same need too, so he's sharing all these ideas to Amy, and you could tell he's got ambitions and maybe even has got his head in the clouds, and he gets so caught up in sharing his ideas of a new parking service
Right. Parking.
that he, you know, misses important things like where Amy needs to turn to get.
Okay,
so
yeah,
he's
yeah.
just
Yeah,
caught
yeah,
up
yeah.
in his head and in his ideas. And
He's like, you mean like valet?
yeah,
Yeah, I guess it's like ride share valet. Like you can get valet anywhere you want. Like just
right,
in your app. Just
right.
people. I guess it'll be like Uber. People will be like willing to park cars wherever you are.
Yeah, I think that needs
so-
some fleshing out.
Right.
The idea, but yeah, he's very proud of it, and Amy's listening to him, and it's probably more than he gets from Danny.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs that. You can tell. Yeah, and then she like overshoots. Yeah, the entrance of his the motel. Or do you live in a motel still, or is it a apartment?
I thought it was an apartment.
Okay. Oh, right. So that motel that Amy and George go to is like another location, right? Because that was
Yes,
they previously
that
owned that.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, that was when they were just doing like recon.
But then the parents lose it because of something that Isaac did.
Right. Yeah. She mentioned she's about to go to Las Vegas, and he's like, my boy is into MMA. He's nicknamed the Japanese disease. Terrible name. It just sounds like he's gonna give somebody a disease. Why would you call yourself? First of
I'm
all,
wondering if it's kind of maybe playing a joke on like the Korean zombie.
Okay,
I don't know, because
or-
it's
oh.
kind of like, I don't know.
or, like maybe he just wanted it to rhyme.
Yeah,
the
that
master
too.
of disaster.
Yeah, knees, yeah.
It's just kind of racist to Japanese people when you think about it. Not racist, but offensive. Yeah, she sees Danny like about to go throw out some trash, so she like parks in some parking space, and they have some more privacy. And yeah, they in response to her trying to hide from Danny, she like inadvertently makes out with him, right?
Sure.
And him being a young impressionable kid, he's like, oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
She likes me. Danny, of course, can't make the shot. Nothing can go right for him. He can't even put the trash in right.
Right.
Listening to like some old school Walkman headphones there. He can't even afford like regular earbuds, like iPhone earbuds. Come on, guy. Yeah. What else do you think about the scene? It's the cold open, I believe.
Yeah, it reestablishes the beef that, like you said, it took a back burner in the last episode, but that's a reminder that, hey, there's still this beef
point.
going on.
Yeah. And cut to Danny and Isaac about to rob somebody. I don't know who. Is it just some location? Like they're very nonchalant about
Yeah, it's like some construction site that Isaac has access to.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. And they're just shooting the shit here, but a lot of important like character revelations, like Paul talking about how like he just really cares about this Kayla chick.
Yo, I don't fuck with that type of white woman. They act like they got no power. They got all of it.
You met her?
I don't need to. I just know. Like Paul's cleaning his room, White Devil pulling strings.
What kind of white girls you fuck with then?
Italians, bro.
What?
Yeah, they're the same as us. Peninsula mentality.
And I like what he says here. I wrote it down. Peninsula mentality with Italian girls. Is there any truth to that?
Well, it's always interesting when people make comparisons between cultures and find commonalities of, oh, this culture is very similar to this culture because of blah blah blah. And yeah, you hear it. Like, I think I've heard that Korean people have been likened to the Irish because they've been continuously invaded by other,
Okay.
and so they're very proud and stubborn and hard drinking and this and that. So I you hear that between certain Asian cultures and Latin culture, like, it's very family oriented and
Okay.
this and that.
Oh.
So I can't say that I've necessarily heard the comparison between Italians and Koreans or this peninsula mentality, but I like you, I did find that an interesting
Right. I don't know
phrase.
if there's any truth to it, but I feel like my mom's personality type maybe is more indicative, not our entire Vietnamese culture, but like The Godfather,
Yeah.
they're very vindictive, and like they don't like a small slight they'll take seriously. I think my mom's very much like that. I don't know if Vietnamese like that are like that in general. So, but I always felt a connection to like Italian culture in that sense. Like maybe my mom more than anything, but yeah, he's continuing to talk about how Paul's cleaning his room, White Devil pulling strings, and yeah, that's when they get to the Italian part of the thing, which is a cool little insight. I like that. Like he thinks like he's thinking for himself, but he's really being incepted. I really like that. And then I really relate to this part when he says Paul can't take criticism very well. I feel like I'm the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need positive reinforcement. I'm not a tough love
Mm-hmm.
kind of person. So if you attack me and like say, "Oh, you're doing this wrong and that wrong," I feel like it's a personal attack.
Sure,
You know,
it just
so-
makes you feel defensive.
Yeah, and I feel like Paul's the same way. So that's why in a lot of ways I feel personally more connected to Paul because I'm more aligned with his personality, but I'm also of Danny's generation,
Mm-hmm.
so I relate to them both, And it's cool. He's like, I don't want to lose him forever, so they're kind of like strategizing, like how can I get Paul to get back on my side, kind of thing, because he does feel I'm slipping away, So I guess they're just stealing stuff for the construction of the renovation of the church.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when they're looking at all the stuff to take that Danny notices that the refrigerator is a Daewoo, which
Oh,
is
okay.
a Korean brand, and he
Yeah.
said something about support Korean manufacturing.
Even though they're stealing.
Yeah.
It was support them by stealing. We should take this too. It's Daewoo. Support Korean manufacturing by stealing it.
Hey, you know who you are? You're Korean Robin Hood,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm Korean Aladdin.
Wait, how's he Korean Aladdin? Because he's granting him the wishes?
Maybe, I don't know.
No, wait, that's Genie. Yeah,
I
how is
don't
he
know.
Aladdin? I think he's just getting his metaphors mixed up there. Anyway, back at the Nakai/Lao residence, Junie's having a fit. She doesn't want to go on this trip. She's just, when kids just like stay in one place and they don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's not having it, even though George does get her Paw Patrol toys. She's not having it, and they have to stay back. And Amy gets on the private jet by herself, right? Anything you got from this scene?
Not particular, other than it sets up stuff later in the episode where Amy's able to be by herself. It would play out much differently if she
Right,
was
yeah.
in Vegas with the whole family.
Sure. Yeah, no family trip to Vegas. There'll be another time to. Apparently, Isaac knows Tony Kukoc, and again, it's reinforces like their rekindling of their relationship. Like for some reason, Danny stopped hanging out with him, and then now he's like,
Right, and again, going back to what we were talking about last episode, just how the show makes cultural references, whether it's something about Korean culture or just culture of when they were kids. You know, mentioning Tony Kukoc, most young basketball fans today probably might not even know Tony Kukoc,
right.
but they're just making these references without having the needs to explain it, or it just is, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, he's supposed to replace Jordan, right? But then he ended up playing with him, and Jordan came back. Kukoc is Italian, or he's Romanian?
I believe he was
Serbian.
Serbian
no,
or
Romanian.
no, it was Croatian.
Oh right, yeah, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I just like that. It's just the start of them kind of rekindling their. I mean, they've started to already, and we always knew Isaac was always in his periphery, but now they're just starting to hang out a lot more since Danny recruited him for this scam with the church. So, and I really like this next scene when Paul addresses him as "Sup, Isaac."
Sup, Isaac?
Sup, Isaac? Isaac Young, bitch. I don't make these gook rules.
I really relate to that. Every time I go to a family function, I always have to, yow, meaning, it's like show reverence, show respect to all your elders.
Right.
And I'm, one of the youngest still, so I have to address everybody like that, and that's why I usually normally skip those functions because it's very awkward, and it's, it's enough with that. I mean, I get it, it's the culture, but I always feel so diminished. I feel like lower.
Sure, and I think that explains a lot about the dynamic that Paul has with Isaac and Danny.
Because he's tired of it. So I really relate to that. And he gets bullied. He comes into his house and slaps the comic
right,
out of his hand.
Isaac's only explanation is, "I didn't make up these rules," so it's like just blindly following.
He said, "I didn't make up these gook rules."
Right, they're just following these things that determine their life, just because of tradition, just because of that's how it's always been.
And it's funny, and we'll get some more insight to that later, but they're still rigidly conforming to that structure and those cultural norms. Whereas Paul, he's so Americanized at this point. He doesn't even
and he's not not benefiting from these rules, so it's making him want to leave those confines even more.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're the one being attacked all the time, of course you're gonna
resent it,
go away.
Sure.
Resent it and try to move forward. I always feel like I'm the same with my cousins. Like, you don't have to jowl me. You don't have to do that. Just call me Joe. Just call me. I bypass it. You don't need to do that to me. So I have a bit more leeway when it comes to that. Are you rigid with that with your younger people? Do they call you?
No,
Hyung?
probably just with obviously much older people, older adults. I think I would feel that would be proper to do, but not with someone that's slightly older than me.
Or, I mean, do you make younger people call you Hyung?
No,
Okay.
Certainly not.
Okay. So they're bringing up a boys' trip to Vegas. You, me, and Isaac. Because Paul brought up that he needs to borrow the truck, right?
Because he finds out that Amy is going to be in Vegas, so he's smitten and obsessed and wants to be there. So.
And he little little off-color remark here that I bet you saw a lot of in jail, and Isaac gets really mad, and a little foreshadowing here because you know some animosity between Isaac and Paul, obviously, but escalates into some violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very really great foreshadowing. Danny's trying to de-escalate it, saying we got this church job with Veronica, so it might help you pay good. Um, yeah, while drinking some Sunny D, pay your own way to Vegas. He's trying to give him some like responsibility. Like, hey, you can't just take my car out of nowhere willy nilly. Like, how you gonna pay for gas? Ruin the mileage of my car. Like, try to pay your own way. I like that. He's he's trying to father him a bit. He might have gone about it kind of a wrong way because I don't know how you get through to Paul.
But certainly
You gotta make it more delicate, right?
certainly it changes the topic. It diffuses the situation.
And Danny's just Paul is just has a master plan. Let's get these guys drunk, and he's not taking shots. He backwash and he gives it back to them. And he's not drinking; they're drinking. And back in Vegas, I believe we see the shot of the Bellagio, and that's beautiful. I love every time we go to Vegas, right? Ocean's 11, all the Vegas movies. They're in a spa. They're getting kind of a massage here. Jordan and Amy here, best masseuses in the world, top of the line, comped. And she's talking about how she usually bribes, excuse me, she usually bribes Junie with candy, but she wasn't having it today. And I don't know, Jordan's got like these weird. What do they call that under your eyes, where you have to?
Facial treatment. I'm not sure what that is.
She's got some weird earrings going on too. I don't know what. You're looking very festive there, though. Yeah, you can tell Amy's a bit down. Her family's. She wanted to spend more time with her family.
Doesn't that get tiring?
Yes, it's exhausting. That's why I have a zero filter policy with my inner circle. If I had to fake it all day, I'd go insane.
Back at Danny's, Danny and Isaac are passed out, and they find out that he took the car. He texted him like, "Sorry, I'll bring it right back." You would have done the same for the right girl. Isaac can drive you to work, and they go after him because they have the stolen goods still in the truck. Idiots. Amateur hour.
This part, when Jordan's talking to Amy, again, just builds up Jordan's character more, just speaks to that theme of having to fake it in life, and certainly Amy knows all about that, but Jordan was saying that she needs to do that too. She has to put on this illusion, and she can't really do what she wants to do, because of the impression it might give to her employees or this or that. And so, but when she's with her inner circle, that's when it's no filter, because she can really be her true self.
Right.
And so I think Amy can relate. That's what she wants in her own life.
Yeah.
But she's having a hard time having that.
It's a throwaway line, but George mentions how Junie was so excited to not go. She's hugging every piece of furniture, and it's a great revelation. Well, not a great revelation, but it's a great insight into. She's a homebody. She doesn't want to go anywhere, and I don't know if that's going to function later on in the series, but great little way of showing I guess in this instance, telling us that Junie has separation anxiety with the house. They're having a little conversation about how she wants. He rescheduled this men's group meeting, so he needs her home. But Fumi, he's having a sleepover with Fumi, his mom. So it looks like they're having fun. So she's pretty much got a lot of downtime. She gets a text from Paul. Paul's in town and invites him over, hang out in her room, and then we get a lot of cool kind of interpersonal connection here.
Yeah, I think this scene is one of the key moments in this episode. It represents everything that Amy's ever wanted, and Paul provides that. I thought it was telling of Paul's character that he's kind of like, this young puppy dog. He brings her flowers,
Yep.
which who knows the last time anyone's brought Amy flowers. And, you could see Danny's got all these romantic ideals. Oh, sorry, Paul's got all these
I do that all the
romantic,
time, too.
notions of what, he ought to do.
Those Asians, they all look alike.
And
We could say that we're Asian. So.
and you can see the connection that they have. There's a moment where they touch hands, and that was probably a unfamiliar feeling for Amy, that she hasn't had that personal connection with George in a long time, or maybe
Right.
ever.
Yeah.
And we see that Paul brings out the fun in Amy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you could see, like, when they're jumping on the bed, that they're
Right, yeah,
really
yeah.
she's really having a good time.
Yeah, they smoke weed. She hasn't smoked weed since June was born. But before that, we get some, important conversation with Danny and Isaac in the car. Trying to do the Find My Phone with his iPhone, and he mentions that you gotta smack them matinés, right? Once in a while, and a very interesting insight into both of their characters. They're the oldest.
So you gotta smack them magnets, or they all turn out like this. They never get disciplined like we do. Parents are too tired after the first one.
The oldest always gets it worse.
So a lot of insight into the relationship in that little line of dialogue, right? So very cool. And again, reinforces that same theme, and it foreshadows what will be coming soon, right? Physicality wise, another foreshadowing here when Paul and Amy are kind of reenacting like MMA moves. And he does the Skittles and Coke, which Danny said that he made up, right? So very cool, like back and forths here. Anything else you want to add about any of those points I made?
No, I think you touched on all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this scene just keeps on showing that Paul is, well, I guess they're both providing something for each other. It's not just one way, that Amy's giving something to Paul and Paul's giving something to Amy.
Right. And another quick thing I wanted to add about before moving on, they're eating mangosteen, by the way. I don't know what that is. Is that how you say it? Mangosteen?
Yeah.
I think we call it something else in Vietnam, but I remember my mom eating those a lot. Mangosteen. We're talking about the resentment that the brothers have. Paul resents Danny for, I guess not being there for him, or being hard on him all the time and calling him lazy, right? And Danny resents Paul because, he got all the brunt of his parents' wrath. He had it hard with his parents, and then resents Paul for getting the easy road, you know. So there's always going to be that dynamic. So that's why I don't think they can ever have like an equal kind of partnership relationship, and that's why they can never kind of confide in each other, which is very tragic as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In its own right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of siblings can relate to that as well, that kind of dynamic, right?
And in the scene, another important thing that comes out is when Paul says that Amy's like Danny, in the sense that they work so hard that they really can't enjoy life.
Yeah.
And that relates to another important theme running through this series, is that people are a lot more alike than they think. They like, this is focusing on the beef that separates Amy and Danny, but they're more alike, and they have these common threads that they don't realize in the moment.
Like, he regularly drives an hour and a half to what he thinks is the best Burger King just to eat 4 original chicken sandwiches alone.
I tried that out. I wouldn't recommend it. I didn't eat 4 of them, but hey, like as I mentioned before, I ate 1 1/4. But it was the onion rings that did me in. I can't get enough of those onion rings. Apparently, I did recently, so I would not recommend that. Their onion rings are good, but just a moderate amount. Don't overdo it like I did. And a lot of stoner talk. You know, he's not like in the game. You know, the other character dies and you keep going. And I don't know what he means by that, but they're both stoned, so I'll just attribute it to that, right? It's like life is like that. Very cool. I like quiet moments like these where you get time for the characters to breathe. They're about to kiss, and Paul gets a text.
And before that moment, she drops a mangosteen. Paul says, "I got you," and that represents something that Amy doesn't hear enough of. Right? Yeah. She feels like nobody's got her, that she's doing all of the hard work and she's alone in her suffering. And so for Paul to say that, you know, that was, it fulfills everything that, you know, she's been needing. And then I think in that same scene, I hope I'm not jumping ahead to another scene, but Paul says, "Can we hug?"
Oh yeah, that's later.
Is that later? Okay.
Not too much later, but point upon this scene where the Danny and Isaac are in the casino. He found them through the Find My Phone app, and they got to go through all the doors because it doesn't count for verticality, right? Isaac's just like, I'm in Vegas. You need to sit near the Chinese.
Life lesson: always sit with the Chinese. Blackjack, craps. You ever see Chinese people play that game?
Yeah, like all the time.
Those are like half Chinese. I'm talking about real OG Chinese.
You know, next time I'm in a casino, I find some Chinese people. I'm sitting next to them for sure. So I don't know if there's any truth to that. But Isaac just wants to gamble. Yeah, Isaac wants to play. He doesn't want to sit by himself. He said, I'll give you half my winnings. And Danny wants to look for Paul, you know. He's like, we'll find that fucker. He's somewhere. And he's like, yeah, let's make some money.
Right, like this whole series being as, you know, like you said, bombastic, and, you know, a lot of these things, it just seems so incredible and hard to believe. It's just like at any juncture, if things didn't happen, then things would have turned out so much better if Amy and Danny never had that moment in the parking lot. If Paul and Danny and Isaac don't ever actually run into Paul, you know, they would have just maybe been a little hungover, and maybe a little lighter in their pocket, but they would have just ended up going back home. And and not too much, worse for wear. But no, in the series, it doesn't happen like that.
Right. Yeah, things have to keep escalating. Right?
Yeah.
She ends up giving Paul some money, like, thank you for today. Think of it like a thank you. He's like, I feel like I'm a whore.
And I think that's coming from a genuine place. Like, Amy really does appreciate it, and maybe that's really the only way she can express her appreciation and thanks in a tangible way that means something, because Amy's a very practically minded person.
Yeah.
And maybe she's brought up like money is important, and money's what matters, and money's what is more important than other gestures, because it does mean something. And I know a lot of people who are of the opinion that giving money as a gift, whether it's a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, is the best present because it's the most practical, whereas other people might say, oh, money, it's so impersonal, and it shows that you didn't really take the time to go out and get something that made you think of that person. I think there people like Amy, and I would agree to a large extent that giving money, it's not as impersonal, or I don't know, a bad gift that some people might think it is.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
all purpose.
Right, so
That's how I see it.
I can see why Amy would do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next scene, it's morning. they didn't look for Danny all night, and they're at a buffet. First few rounds, only high value proteins and no carbs. Danny loading up on the shellfish. It looks really good. Got all the crab legs and lobster there.
God, why didn't we look for Paul?
Yo, it's okay. All right, first 3 rounds, only high-value proteins, no carbs, no fillers. Learned that from you.
I have zero appetite.
Yo, dude, I know you had a rough night, but you gotta eat something.
And if they just ate the food at the buffet, things would just have been so much better.
Takes a bite of the king crab with the shell still on. Danny's very particular. He doesn't want that end piece, so he's like, wait for the next one. I like that. He's very.
He can assert control over his life in these little ways.
Right. That's a good point. Then that's when they run into Paul. He's like, he runs away, and again, like you said, escalation. Isaac runs after him. He got all that. He puts down all that food. Don't eat that. I'm coming back. Amy's getting all her stuff calm. She needs to get into hair and makeup, I believe, before the conference, and they're running all over the stairs trying to get Paul. Paul's really fit, man, so I don't know. I think Danny would be the closest person to try to catch him, but Paul's yelling, I don't want to see I don't want to be infected by your brokenness anymore. He's like, that's the white devil talking. I think this whole sequence, sorry to cut you off, but this whole sequence is kind of juxtaposed with Amy going back to the room, and I guess we're supposed to infer that don't meet together, don't meet at the same time, right? And they're gonna like explode because things are about to blow up when Danny confronts Amy, but apparently that doesn't happen, right? But sorry,
when the whole chase scene in the stairwell, I think it's entertaining for a lot of different reasons. Like, you could see Danny's insecurities when he's asking Paul, was the whole Korean Johnny Carson thing a compliment or not? Right. That's still on his mind and still like it bothering him.
Yeah, and it comes out because he's drunk.
Right.
In Vino Veritas, the wine brings the truth, and he's saying, I'm your brother, you will respect me. So he's still like hung up on that notion too, that him and Isaac have been talking about on the ride over, that like his resentment towards his brother. Like he wants him to respect him, but he's not gonna. You've done nothing for him to earn it, you know. So interesting dynamic that's coming to a head here, you know. So Paul, you know, gets the key, and I don't know how he has a key, but he gets into the suite, and Danny gets his foot in the door, and Isaac finally comes and bursts through it, and you know, there's where the escalation starts with some violent entanglements, and they're like wrestling with him on the bed.
Fuck off me! Go back in my day, the kids flap their mouths, they get sent away. Whole family in the mission field. Me? I got shipped to LA!
And then this is interesting. Isaac infers that means that he's the one who called the cops on him at the motel. Is there any truth to that, do you think?
Why are you even here, man? Nobody even likes you.
You know what? I always wondered who the fuck called the cops on me at the motel. It was you fucking snake!
But I think he's trying to like reinforce that, you know,
Yeah,
he's a kid,
yeah.
and like belittling him.
Yeah. And he's like, it's pathetic, you have to bully me to feel better about your shitty lives. So it's all just coming out right now, you know?
Yeah.
And then, there you go, it escalates into Danny hitting him and says,
Right.
shut your fucking mouth.
Because it's cutting close to the bone, right?
Yeah.
He's hearing words of truth that he doesn't want to hear, but he knows it's true. It's like, we don't like hearing, you know, these hard truths.
And Paul's like, I can fucking take you. They have a little bit of courage because of, you know, they've been drinking. So I'd like to see, you know, obviously probably Paul is bigger in stature, so he probably could take Danny.
And I thought that was an interesting scene because, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, he's in better shape than them. He's stronger, and he probably could take them both on. But all of that condescension and belittling, it's probably making him revert back to when he was younger, and they would bully him. So
Good point. And then somebody said that in an earlier episode or something, like when in moments of high stress we revert to our younger pathology or something like that. I think Dr. Lin said that. So yeah, good point, man. Good callback. Awesome. Amy's got a nice new haircut here. She's blonde. She's got a bob, and she's about to talk in front of the Koyo house. And I like this piece of dialogue where she sees next gen, first class, future proof. Like,
I love the
Is that the new X-Men? Great line.
what did you make of Amy's pretty drastic hairstyle change?
Ooh.
Did you think that was...
Yeah, I didn't think about it too
Do you think
deeply.
there was something there, like maybe it's kind of like changing her identity,
Yeah,
making herself
yeah. Or
look
she feels-
less
yeah, she feels-
Asian, so she can, I don't know, be more
Oh.
palatable to
Yeah, probably a little bit of both
shareholder.
of that.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's probably a little bit of both of that. I didn't think about that at the time, but you're right. Yeah, she is trying to change the minds of the board, and you know, she is working for a white majority shareholder or owner of the company. I don't know what Jordan is specifically, but yeah. And then the conversation tonight with Paul probably affected that a bit, right? She feels reborn. She feels like a changed person in a way. Yeah, I didn't think about it too hard. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure myself, but it did kind of pique my curiosity,
Yeah.
what they were intending with that.
Okay. Yeah, she's pretty much, you know, given empowerment kind of speech. Not empowerment, but like kind of success story, telling her story, right?
But you know, she doesn't really believe,
Yeah.
at least for herself, when she's saying, "Oh, you can have it all."
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
she
yeah.
doesn't, and she,
Right.
you know, she would say about herself, "I don't have it all." There's, you know, these big holes in my life that, you know, I'm missing something. but she's just
Right.
putting on this public face of a
Yeah.
perfect life.
And then we get it undercut, of course, by a Q&A crasher, conference crasher here, when Danny takes the mic and calls her out. What happens when blah 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 blah. I don't know the exact words, but calling her out pretty much. She knows who it is. And then I just wrote down when Isaac said the last stand is the best X-Men. Wolverine cannot be circumcised.
I felt like this particular episode of the ones we've reviewed so far, I don't know if maybe I was just more in tune to this one and maybe it existed in the other ones, but I felt like this one had a lot of like funny lines and funny moments that just are kind of
absurd.
In passing, could easily be, like not heard, but all of that X-Men stuff was funny.
What is? I think he means he can't be neutered, right?
Oh,
circumcised. If he can't be circumcised, he's Jewish or something. I don't know. Yeah, he got those.
Yeah, maybe. Was he talking about Logan? How Logan? You've got to. I don't know if he was making reference to Logan, but. But yeah, there were other funny moments that I didn't.
And then cut back to Amy, a closer on her face. She's laughing and playing it up, and then she's like really mad inside, right?
Yeah.
And then another chase ensues with security. Danny spits in one of those guys' faces. It was pretty bold. They're running through the casino. I was like, "Are you gonna get away? What are you gonna do?" And then of course they get arrested or they get apprehended. And she meant no. It's not good.
Sorry. Yeah, there was a line where Jordan did make a comment about Amy being blonde. You're more fun as a blonde. So
right.
There must
Yeah,
be
yeah,
something
yeah.
there.
Yeah. And then she mentions the average Forster consumer usually is an alcoholic.
Great job with the hecklers out there, by the way. That's typical Vegas riffraff. Pains me that that's the average Forster consumer.
Well, hey, nobody ever went broke underestimating the intelligence of the American public, right?
I don't know why he's so mad about a truck.
Danny and Isaac, of course, keep running and they get caught. And slow-mo here with when he's getting handcuffed with Amy giving him the Dikembe Mutombo. Get that out of my house.
Right, and
then we hear a great needle drop with Offspring self-esteem.
Yeah, you could really sense that by the end of this episode, Amy just feels re-emboldened. Because there were, moments where she felt, powerless and things are out of her control. But, Danny gets thwarted and she's really, relishing seeing that. And when she's getting all the, kudos and slaps on the back for how she handled the hecklers.
Yeah.
And, she's just, with each experience, she's like, yeah, and she's like feeling better about herself, even a little smug.
Right.
And so I think that that finger wag was like a perfect way to end the episode.
A couple of things I failed to mention before. Another needle drop when they're taking shots was Nookie by Limp Bizkit, which I have a guilty pleasure for Limp Bizkit. Also, Amy mentions that reveals that she's getting $10 million for the company, $10 million off for a plant company, pretty much. It's more than that though. It's it's the brand, high end, right? So that's an important detail I kind of glossed over. But yeah, it was a great episode. What'd you think of the episode? Overall thoughts and Yelp rating?
Start with the rating. I will give it a 4.5.
Interesting.
I really enjoyed the humor in it. I liked how everything moved forward, was purposeful. We see that the feud is back in full effect, and I didn't feel like there were any lulls or things that didn't make sense. Or
Yeah. Very cool. I'm on the same level. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5.
Oh,
My
okay.
first
nice.
perfect Yelp rating. Again, I tend to like more like of the bombastic, um, you know, in your face episodes, and I think this is one of the first episodes to do that. Like everything kind of hit the head and was very climactic. Great ending, great capper ending. I'm a huge fan of the capper endings, and there's very quiet moments too. I felt like a lot of revelation between the conflict between Paul and Danny, a lot of the resentments that like really we're talking about repression earlier that they've repressed and kind of bottled up and now kind of exploded in this episode with the help of Isaac too. Isaac is not inculpable, if that's a word, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of backstory with Amy too, and her goings on with Jordan. So yeah, the quiet moments between with Amy and Paul too really played well. So it wasn't without those moments, but I felt like it was a very high intensity episode,
Mm-hmm.
and I really liked those. So yeah, it looks like we both love this episode as well. Like great couple of episodes, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any more thoughts on this episode, Edwin?
Nothing beyond what we already talked about, but so far the series has been well done, nicely executed. So looking forward to talking about upcoming episodes.
Yeah. 4-1, Amy, at this point. She got a leg up because, Danny's arrested. I don't know if he's going to be prosecuted or not. Probably not, because it's just a drunken... I mean, he spit on that security guy. So I don't know if he'll press charges for that. Probably not, because they get so many drunken people. It's a Las Vegas casino, so, looking forward to the next episode as well. It is entitled Such Inward Secret Creatures. I think it's the last episode to be directed by Hikari. I believe this one was directed by him as well. Yeah, it was. So yeah, I want to thank you again, Edwin. Thank you for being on the podcast.
All right. Had a great time.
And if you want to listen to more episodes, please look us up on the website, thelaserboy.wordpress.com, the Laserboy with a Z. Search the Laserboy in the YouTube search engine. And we look forward to talking about the next one. Hope you guys tune in. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Ah!